Have you ever felt that there's a hidden rulebook to relationships, one that no one ever gave you? We're told stories about love and loyalty that feel good, that sound right. But then, reality unfolds in a way that those stories never prepared us for. Things happen that contradict everything we were promised. A bond that seemed unbreakable quietly dissolves. A commitment made in earnest gets reinterpreted. And we're left wondering, what did I miss? What if you missed the underlying mechanics? Not the fairy tale, but the firmware. The operating system that runs beneath the surface of conscious intention. Today, we're going on a deep dive into one of the most misunderstood, romanticized, and crucial aspects of human connection. We are going to talk about the architecture of loyalty, specifically the feminine expression of it. This isn't about assigning blame or promoting cynicism. This is about understanding nature. And nature, as they say, is neither kind nor cruel, it is efficient. It follows rules of adaptation, survival, and investment. Before we go any further, if you're ready to move beyond surface-level advice and understand the core principles that drive human attraction and connection, do this channel a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We dismantle illusions here. We go deep, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Your support through subscribing, liking, and sharing these videos is what allows this channel to keep exploring these essential, unfiltered truths. Let's begin with a foundational idea, one that might unsettle the romantic in you. Loyalty is not a promise. It is a condition. For generations, men have been handed a narrative. Be good, be kind, be faithful, and you will receive loyalty in return. It's presented as a transaction of virtues. But this narrative collapses under the weight of lived experience and observable reality. It ignores the primal, instinctive layer of human psychology, the feminine aspect of consciousness, and this applies beyond just women to a fundamental energy, is not designed for static vows. It is designed for dynamic evaluation. Its primary function, at a deep, often unconscious level, is to assess fitness, stability, and safety. This isn't a choice. It's an ancient, hardwired protocol. Think of it this way. You don't blame a compass for pointing north. It's simply doing what it's built to do. The feminine psyche possesses a similar, innate guidance system. It reads the environment. It reads the partner. It reads the direction of things. Is this moving toward security or chaos? Toward growth or stagnation? Toward strength or fragility? This continuous, subtle audit is not malice. It is vigilance. It is the mechanism that, for thousands of years, ensured the well-being of the next generation in an uncertain world. So, the first seismic shift in understanding is this. A woman's loyalty is not given to the man himself in some abstract, permanent sense. It is given to the conditions the man represents and maintains. When those conditions are perceived as safe, strong, and life-giving, loyalty is the natural outcome. When those conditions shift, loyalty recalibrates. It's that simple and that complex. This is where our first pillar emerges, what we might call the pillar of perceived safety. Safety here isn't just physical. It's emotional, psychological, and even symbolic. Does this man represent a competent navigator for life's challenges? Is his internal world ordered, or is it chaotic? Can he bear weight without collapsing? This perception is built not on what he says, but on what he demonstrably is. A man can promise the world, but if his daily actions broadcast anxiety, indecision, and a lack of purpose, his words become meaningless noise. The unconscious feminine radar picks up the dissonance. It senses the instability. And when instability is sensed, the psychological foundation for loyalty begins to erode. Studies in attachment theory and evolutionary psychology consistently show that perceived partner dependability, the ability to be a stable, reliable source of strength and decision, is the single strongest predictor of secure attachment and, by extension, sustained loyalty. This leads us to a crucial distinction that most men never make: the difference between needing and choosing. A man who needs a woman's presence to feel okay, to validate his worth, to soothe his anxieties, is broadcasting instability. He is, in effect, asking her to become his emotional anchor. This reverses the natural polarity. It makes her the source of his stability, which is a heavy, often untenable burden. Conversely, a man who chooses her, from a place of wholeness and internal stability, generates a powerful sense of safety. She is not his source of peace. She is a welcome companion within the peace he has already built for himself. Let's pause here for a moment. This is dense, important material. If this is resonating with you, if you are seeing patterns from your own past or present relationships, I want you to engage with this. Drop a comment below with the word safety, and let me know if this idea of perceived safety over promises is clicking for you. Your insights and stories are invaluable, and they help build a community of men seeking real understanding. Also, take a second to like this video. It tells the algorithm that this content matters, helping other men find their way to this conversation. Now, building on this pillar of safety, we must introduce the concept of direction. A man's direction is his North Star. It is his purpose, his mission, the thing he is building or pursuing that is larger than the relationship itself. This is non-negotiable. The feminine energy is drawn to movement, to growth, to a trajectory that leads somewhere. Stagnation is the enemy of attraction and, by extension, loyalty. Why? Because loyalty is an investment. And we only continue to invest in ventures that show potential for growth and return. If a man's life is static, if he has no compelling vision for his own future, he is essentially a stagnant pond. There may be comfort there, but there's no life, no oxygen, no forward movement. The feminine, representing the chaos of potential and life itself, will either try to disrupt that stagnation, often through testing or conflict, or will begin to look, consciously or not, for a different current to join. Your direction is what makes you a captain, not a passenger. And a woman's loyalty is deeply tied to her belief in you as a competent captain. She wants to be first mate on a meaningful voyage, not the caretaker of a boat stuck in the harbor. This direction provides the why for the loyalty. The safety provides the how. Together, they create the container. But nature is not linear. And this brings us to the second major layer of understanding, one that explains so much confusion and heartache, the cyclical nature of connection. Here is a truth that, when understood, can save you years of unnecessary conflict and self-doubt. A woman's perception, her emotional availability, and her mode of connection are profoundly influenced by her biological rhythms. This is not a flaw or a manipulation. It is a fact of human physiology. Her entire neuroendocrine system, the interplay of hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and others, shifts throughout her menstrual cycle. These hormones are potent neurochemicals. They alter brain function, mood, focus, desire, and yes, the subjective experience of attachment. During different phases, her unconscious priorities shift. Around ovulation, the biological imperative is sharpest. Energy is often higher, and there can be a natural, instinctive draw toward markers of genetic fitness, confidence, and assertive energy. In other phases, particularly the luteal phase premenstruation, the focus often turns inward. The need for security, comfort, predictability, and emotional stability becomes paramount. Irritability can rise, not as a personal critique, but as a biological response to internal shifts. The man who is unaware of this cycle will personalize every shift. He will misinterpret a natural phase of introspection as withdrawal of love. He will read a need for comfort as neediness. He will see a spark of intensified desire as the real her, and the quieter phases as a problem. This is a trap. It creates a roller coaster where he is constantly reacting, trying to fix a mood that isn't broken, just different. The evolved man does not ride this roller coaster. He understands the terrain. He becomes the stable landscape through which the cycle flows. He doesn't take the introspection personally. He gives space without withdrawing his own presence. He doesn't fear the irritability. He meets it with calm, unshakable steadiness. He recognizes that her loyalty isn't gone during these phases. It's just operating in a different mode. His job is not to mirror her energy, but to provide a consistent, reliable energy of his own. This ability to remain centered, to not be emotionally hijacked by another's natural rhythm, is a supreme demonstration of the pillar of safety. It shows that your internal world is not dependent on hers, and that is incredibly attractive and security-inducing. I'm curious how many of you have witnessed this cyclical dynamic in your own relationships. It's one of those unspoken realities. If this explanation is bringing clarity to past confusing moments, type cycle in the comments below. Sharing your experience helps others feel less alone in this. And while you're there, if you're finding this deep dive valuable, please share this video with a friend who could benefit from this perspective. Sharing knowledge is how we grow together. Now we approach the core, the third and perhaps most decisive pillar, the pillar of admiration. This is the linchpin. You can provide safety. You can have direction. But if you lose her admiration, the entire structure becomes fragile. Admiration is the emotional fuel of lasting loyalty. It is the spark that transforms a safe, logical choice into a passionate, devoted one. What is admiration? It is not about fame, wealth, or status. Those can command attention, but not necessarily admiration. Admiration is the response to perceived strength of character, integrity, and mastery. It is the look in someone's eye when they see you handle a crisis with grace, when you maintain your principles under pressure, when you demonstrate a skill with unconscious competence, when you show deep kindness from a position of strength, not need, when you possess a quiet confidence that doesn't require announcement. A woman admires a man who is a master of his own domain, whatever that domain may be. It could be his craft, his mind, his body, his philosophy. She admires a man who has a depth to him, layers that are not immediately obvious, a sense that there is more to discover. Mystery is not about being secretive. It's about having an inner life so rich that it can't be fully summarized. This is the critical blow to the nice guy paradigm. Being agreeable, accommodating, and constantly sacrificing your own needs to appease her does not inspire admiration. It often inspires pity, frustration, or eventually, contempt. Why? Because it signals a lack of self-respect, a lack of boundaries, and a lack of that crucial internal backbone. You become predictable in the worst way, predictably malleable. Admiration is tied to the perception of psychological autonomy. Can you be happy without her? Do you have a life, mission, and friendships that fulfill you? A man who is psychologically autonomous is a man who is choosing to be in the relationship, not clinging to it for survival. This makes his presence a gift, not a demand. And we cherish gifts far more than obligations. When admiration is present, loyalty becomes instinctive. It is no longer a burdensome choice she has to make every day. It is the natural orientation of her heart toward the man she looks up to. She wants to be loyal because being connected to him feels like an elevation, an alignment with something solid and meaningful. Think of the men in history or literature who commanded fierce loyalty. They weren't always the easiest men. They were often demanding, focused, complex. But they stood for something. They had a code. They had competence. They inspired. That is the key. So, let's synthesize this into a practical model. The trinity of instinctive loyalty. 1. The foundation, unshakable safety. Built through emotional stability, consistency, integrity, and the capacity to handle stress without falling apart. You are the oak tree, not the weather vane. 2. The vector, compelling direction. You are going somewhere meaningful. Your life has purpose and momentum. She is invited to join a journey, not fill a void. 3. The spark, earned admiration. Cultivated through mastery, psychological autonomy, depth, and the strength to uphold healthy boundaries. You are a man of substance, not just sentiment. When these three are aligned, loyalty is not something you ask for or monitor. It is the natural byproduct. The environment you create is one where loyalty is the most adaptive, rewarding choice for her to make, day after day. This brings us to the final, integrative point: loyalty as a survival mechanism. The removed research we alluded to earlier pointed toward this uncomfortable truth. At its deepest, most archaic level, female loyalty functions as a high-stakes survival algorithm. It is not primarily about morality in the abstract. It is about practical, genetic, and emotional survival. Is this partner a viable protector? A reliable provider of resources, emotional and material? A worthy genetic collaborator? Does his presence increase or decrease the chances of thriving? This sounds cold only when stripped of its human context. In reality, it manifests as feeling safe, inspired, turned on, respected, seen. These are the conscious experiences of an unconscious calculation going well. Therefore, the man who focuses on being a good man, in the sense of being competent, integrated, strong, and kind, automatically satisfies the conditions of the algorithm. The man who focuses solely on being a good boyfriend, following scripted romantic gestures while neglecting his own core development, often triggers the algorithm's failure mode. The work, then, is never about controlling her or manipulating her loyalty. The work is always about building yourself into the kind of man who naturally inspires it. It is an inside-out process. This is a lot to take in, and we've only scratched the surface of each of these pillars. If your goal is to truly master this understanding, to move from theory to embodied practice, you need a framework. You need to understand not just the what, but the how. How do you build unshakable safety when you've been conditioned for anxiety? How do you find a compelling direction if you feel lost? How do you cultivate genuine depth and inspire admiration? This is the purpose of deeper training. It's about recoding your own instincts, mastering your psychology, and learning the language of real, grounded connection. It's about becoming the architect of your own life, and in doing so, becoming a natural beacon for loyalty and devotion. If you're ready for that level of transformation, for a structured path that goes far beyond what free content can offer, you'll want to explore the link in the description below. It's a comprehensive system designed for the man who is done with superficial tricks and ready for foundational change. But for now, let this settle. Your task is to audit your own life against this trinity. Safety. Are you emotionally regulated? Consistent? Does your word mean something? Direction. Do you have a mission that excites you? Are you moving forward with purpose? Admiration. Are you cultivating mastery? Do you respect yourself? Do you have boundaries? Work on these. Your focus must shift from how do I keep her to how do I become the man that a woman like her would naturally and willingly choose to stay with. Before we end, I want to hear from you. This is a conversation, not a lecture. What part of this synthesis resonated most powerfully with you? The idea of safety over promises? The reality of biological cycles? The non-negotiable need for admiration? Drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. Let's get a discussion going. Your like, your subscription, your comment, it all fuels this channel's mission to replace societal fairy tales with empowering truths. Remember, loyalty is not claimed. It is earned, not through words, but through being. Become a man of substance, of direction, of calm strength. Build a life that is meaningful and masterful. And you will find that loyalty is not a constant struggle, but a natural consequence. It becomes the water in which your relationship effortlessly floats. Thank you for watching. If this added value to your life, share it. Subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the next video, where we continue to dismantle illusions and build real, unshakable strength.